Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unpacking CLP Updates, the webinar by Brigartis. My name is Stanu Gajdos, and I'm going to be guiding you through this webinar. In this webinar, we would like to propose a few rules. You are able to use chat, you are able to use Q&As, you are also able to raise your hand and ask live. As this webinar will have one speaker, we will first do the presentation of the speaker, and then we'll open the discussions to anyone. In the discussions, anytime you raise a hand, I can allow you to talk. I would like to prioritize people who would like to join the live discussion before people who ask in Q&As, before people who ask in the registration. So without further ado, let's go. So number one frequently asked question is, do I get the recording of the webinar? And yes, the webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube later. You will also get the presentation slides from the webinar from our speaker. And later on, usually a few weeks down the line, we try to compile all the questions and all the relevant points into a white paper, into a Q&A sheet to send out to the attendees, our registrants. This isn't our first webinar, we've already done a few even closely related to this topic. You can watch them on our YouTube if you haven't yet. I see a few familiar names I've seen in the past webinars, so I'm sure some of you are already familiar, for example, with Adam Jonáš. But make sure to check them out if you haven't. We are Brigartis. We are a chemical management consultancy company. We help with REACH, with CLP. Welcome to the webinar. We can help you with only representatives, or we can help you classify hazard classes. Feel free to contact us. Really, we can manage. And today, I'm joined here by Jana Eliášová, our regulatory specialist at Brigartis. Hi, Jana. And this is the end of the intro, and I will now be handing the microphone down the line to Jana. So Jana, the floor is yours.
I will talk about legislation today. Also, legislation may seem to be boring. It's not. In particular, chemical legislation is very dynamic and very constantly changing. Today, I will focus on CLP regulation, which has recently undergone major changes. When I talk about CLP, I mean regulation number 1272 of 2008 of the classification, labeling and packaging. The regulation has been updated in the last 2 years, and I will focus on regulation number 707 from 2023, and which established a new hazard classes, and regulation of 2024 2865 from 2024, which is focused on labeling and other obligations. So, what is new in classification? As you know, in 2023 were new hazard classes added to CLP regulation, and namely endocrine disruptors. It's for human health and from environment. An endocrine disruptor is a substance or mixture that can negatively influence the hormonal system of humans and environment. More detailed description or definition is in the regulation, but I think it's for imagine it's enough. The substances which are persistent, bioaccumulative and toxic, and very persistent and very bioaccumulative are substances which remain in environment and for a long time and can accumulate. Can accumulate, for example, in a food chain and negatively affect even organism without direct contact with the substance. Also, a substance which is not toxic it's just harmful, let's say. But it's very persistent and very bioaccumulative, can still cause serious harm. The last but not least are substances which are persistent, mobile, and toxic, and very persistent, very mobile. That means substances which remain as a class before in environment, but the substances are mobile. That means the substances can be moved and spread to over great distance. So similarly, it's even though its substance is not toxic, but it's very persistent and very mobile, also can cause damage over large areas. Just for fun, I have asked artificial intelligence how to imagine the properties, and there are results. My favorite is the last one for PMT. For me, it's a very, very fun. And now, Paul, okay. I will let you a few seconds to answer. I will continue. The new hazard classes were added to the new hazard classes were added new hazard statements because the CLP is based on a global harmonized system, let's say GHS, and the GHS has not accepted the new hazard classes yet. So the hazard statements are used only by EU and are marked as EUH. It's the reason for it's not H has a say statement, but EUH. Additionally, the hazard pictograms have not been established yet. Maybe in future will be created a new hazard classes, new hazard pictogram, or will use existing one. Nobody knows, but now its hazard classes, new hazard classes will be labeled only with EUH statements and signal words. The criteria for new hazard classes are set out in Annex 1 of CLP regulation, particularly in points 3.11, 4.2, 4.3 and 4.4. At the end of the last year, a guidance for application of these criteria has been issued, and you can download the document clicking on the link. Because or since Regardis organized a series of webinars on the end of the last year regarding new hazard classes, I will not discuss the criteria for substances further because it's really complicated, and I will only touch on the criteria for mixtures. And if you are interested in the criteria in details, you can find our webinars on our web page, on our YouTube channel. Stano, please show us the results of the before pool. Thank you. So there are 37 very happy persons in our group. They don't accept that they have new hazard classes in these products. So maybe we will see, because we can be very surprised that a lot of products or a lot of substances can be classified with this new hazard classes. But I hope you are right. Thank you. So I promise you to touch classification criteria for mixtures. The classification criteria are established by Annex 1 CLP, and I will show you an example. Mixture shall be classified as endocrine disruptor category for human health category 1 when an at last one component has been classified as an endocrine disruptor for human health and is present at or above 0.1% in the mixture. Similarly, when a mixture contains at least one substance classified with classification VPVM, and it's present at or above 1.0% in the mixture, the whole mixture is classified with this classification rules. And we have for you another pool if you are interested in classification of mixtures. So please, Stano. I hope you are very interested in this webinar. I hope I will meet you soon, or our colleague. And I will continue with my presentation. There was a question from the auditorium regarding examples of substances meeting the criteria for the new hazard classes. So I prepared some. There are three sources. It's a CORAP list, SVHC, and Annex 14 REACH. The list called Community Rolling Action Plan, CORAP. There are substances which are evaluated or will be evaluated in terms of selected hazardous properties. Currently, there are a few examples which are potential endocrine disruptors or suspected PBT or PMT. These substances are evaluated and the results will be, I hope soon or maybe in future. The second part is second source is a candidate list of substances of very high concern. We say also SVHC list, and the substances are candidates for authorization for Annex 14. There was identify substances which have these properties, and the classification is necessary. So if you will find this list, it's possible to click on this link, and you can find if your substance is not classified or if it's on the list. As you can mention, there is no substance identified as PMT. Reason could be that PMT is the newest classification part, because endocrine disruptors and PBT, VPBV was investigated or evaluated before. Endocrine disruptors, especially for biocides or pesticides, and PBT, VPBV was for according to Annex 13 of REACH, was investigated for registration. Third part is Annex 14, as I mentioned before. There are substances which are regulated, which are banned. Even the use of the substance is authorized. So these substances which are on the list, on the Annex 14, is not possible used without authorization. And there are also identified and regulated substances which are classified as endocrine disruptors and with persistent bioaccumulative toxic and very persistent and very bioaccumulative properties. As you can see, as I mentioned before, PMT is not regulated yet, but I think in future some substances will be on the list. What is very important, and maybe it's very coming very soon, are deadlines. I have prepared graphically timelines for you for better clarity. As we know, as I mentioned before, the regulation 707 entered into force on April 20, 2023, and from this time starting something. For substances which are on the market and mixtures which are on the market, is established a transitional period. But be very careful. This period starting on May 2024, but for substances which was on the market before this date. This means that these substances don't have to be classified and labeled with new hazard classes until November 2026. But if the substance is placed on the market after the date 1st May 2025, it could be a new batch, new delivery, new supply. It must be classified, it must be labeled. So you have very few time to prepare, and if you will place your products on the market in May or in June, and you have to label your substances. The similar situation is starting in May 2026, and it's for mixtures. Mixtures which were placed on the market before this date are under the transitional period. It's not necessary to classify and label, but for substances which are placed on for mixtures which are placed on the market after this date, the obligation must be fulfilled. And starting May 2028, all substances and mixtures must be classified and labeled according to new rules. So be very, very careful. The first May 2025 is coming very soon. And if you need any help with the classification or with anything with endocrine disruptor, our colleague Adam is ready to help you. It was obligation arising from the regulation 7.707, and now I will focus on the regulation 2865. There are a few new obligations. I will focus on labeling, but something with classification also connecting. There was additional rules for the classification of multi-constituent substances. The product will be classified according the individual components, taking into account all information on the components, on the overall classification. And a mixture containing multi-constituent substances as a component will be classified based on calculation method by the individual components. So if you have multi-constituent substances and you are classified, so be careful and check the new obligations. And this obligation will be starting in 1st July on 2026. Other new obligations for manufacturers, importers, and downstream users is to set specific concentration limits, M factors, and acute toxicity estimates. It's ATA. This must be set for substances which are not harmonized. and probably there will be more details in the guidance document that will coming soon. As I mentioned before, it's not this obligation is not for harmonized classification. Harmonized classification are the harmonized classification is in Annex 6 of CLP, and it's necessary used this harmonized classification for classification of your substances or your mixtures. The last obligation coming from for classification is notification of classification and labeling according Article 40. It's necessary to inform ECHA if any classification changes happens. It must be at least 6 months after the changes. And if you are not using the most severe classification, which is in the inventory, you have to explain it and to provide a reason. That's it for classification, and let's see what is new in labeling. It's a lot of news for labeling. As you know, a label for substances and mixtures classified as hazardous must contain element established in in Article 17 of CLP. What is new? The label may be presented in the form of fold-out label. I will show you how can prepare a fold-out label, and also there are news in formats of the labels and more specified extensions for small packaging. So fold-out label. This label have 3 parts. It's a front page, inner pages, and back page. On the front page, must be included minimum elements. It's a supply identity. That means name of the distributor or the person who is responsible for this product. Nominal quantity for if it's used for general public. The product identifiers I will talk about later, and hazard pictograms. Also must be mentioned signal words in all languages where the products will be placed on the market, and unique formula identifier U5. And there is necessary to be a reference to the fully safety information inside the fold-out label in all languages, and symbols for the languages. In the inner pages must be information in the proper languages. Must be mentioned whole sentences, P sentences, H sentences, and as well the pictogram must be visible for this inner pages. And the back page, there is repeating information on the front page, and it's not necessary to be mentioned abbreviations of the languages that is used inside the page. So in the new guidance will be more focused on this fold-out labels to be compliant with the legislation. You can see whole details on my presentation, and we will send you the presentation soon. What is new? It's dimensions. Dimensions of label and pictograms. It was are mentioned in table 1.3 of Annex 1 CLP. And what is new? It specifies font size of the letters. And I recommend you be very careful when designing labels, because incorrect dimensions are frequent reason for non-compliance and can result to penalties. So be careful. How to measure? In the figure, you can see the correct measurement of the dimensions. It's for pictograms and for text. You can see that means x, small x, and its minimum height, which is mentioned in the table. The rules specify in guidance documents. There is a version of March 2021. The first non-official draft of the new of the updated guidance is available, but it's not for the it's not non-official. But I hope guidance updated guidance will be available very soon, and I believe it will help you. It was also a question from the audience. There is no specific method or tool for the measurement, but if you want to be very strict or be 100% sure that you used accurate measurement, you can ask your national meteorological authority to help you for some tool or equipment how to measure it very strict. For example, Czech authority, Czech inspectors, Czech inspection authority have certified measurement equipment intended for inspections. Additionally, on the new regulation, in the new regulation specify rules for the text on the label. Text must be printed on black on white background. The distance between two lines shall be at least 120% of the front side. A single font that is easily legible without serifs and shall be used. And the letter spacing shall be appropriate for the selected font to be easily legible. So there are new rules, and the rules will be applied from 1st July 2026. Article 30, talking about updating information on the labels, and there is my other recommendation, especially for companies which are preparing labels for whole products, and maybe with advance long time, because it's not very comfortable, because there is a lot of changes, and it could be not very comfortable if you have to change information on the label. But I understand that sometimes it's necessary to prepare a lot of labels before, because it's expensive, etc., but maybe in this context, it could be a little bit difficult, because if something changed with classification, and this results is a new hazard class or more severe classification, it's necessary to change a label without undue delay, as was before mentioned in the regulation, but no later than 6 months. So you have just 6 months for changing labels. In case of change classification, of the other change classification, the deadline is 18 months. And if harmonized classification change, date is set out in the respective delegated act. So the changing of labels maybe plays very soon, very often, and think about very details that it's necessary to be very good prepared for the changing. And if you have many labels prepared before, it could be a problem in future, and maybe you have to spend a lot of money. Other or new obligation connected with new hazard classes on the label must be mentioned. Identity of on the label for mixtures must be mentioned. Identity of substances contributing the classification of the mixture. There was in the blue are classes which was before, which was on the original regulation, and now was added persistent bioaccumulative toxic and very persistent very bioaccumulative, as well as persistent mobile and toxic, very persistent very mobile very mobile, and as well as endocrine disruptors. So all substances which are in your mixture classified with these hazard classes must be mentioned on the label. What is new are digital labels. There's Article 34b. Digital label is voluntary. If you want to have information on the label, on the digital label, you have to fulfill these obligations. The label must be under Article 17. All elements from Article 17 must be on the digital label. The label must be searchable, must be accessible to all users in the Union, must be free of charge, must be also addressed the needs for vulnerable groups, accessible with no more than 2 clicks, and through digital technologies widely used and compatible with all major operating systems and browsers, and if accessible in more than 1 languages, the choice of language shall not be conditioned by geographical location. So there are rules for digital labels, and I will show you how can see the digital label. This is physical label and voluntary label. Physical label must be on the product, obligatory for every time, and digital label is voluntary. On the physical label must be identifier. In case of mixture, it's a trade name, and contains and substances which are incluent. Classification must be identification of the supplier, hazard pictograms, hazard statements, precautionary statements, etc. We know how to must see obligatory label, and there is also obligatory to mention supplemental information according Article 25. This information can be only on the digital label. So only information, supplemental information, in accordance with Article 25, not necessary to be on physical label, but can be only on digital label. And there is a what means supplemental information. It's, for example, EUH sentences, sentences for a product plan, product plan sentences. UFI code must be on the label. And also is new is possible to add label elements from other acts. For example, for detergents, and it can be only on digital label. There is a new obligation for distributors regarding poison centers notification. If the distributor rebrand and relabel the product, must notify according to Article 45 and Annex 8 of CLP. From my point of view, if the distributor rebrand or relabel the product, it's not distributor, but it's a downstream user. But okay, it was added to the regulation for sure. It's not this obligation is not applied if the notification was what was notified before by the other supplier. So distributors. Obligation for distributors is check if the product was notified to the member states when the distributor will place the product on, and if not, it's necessary to notify. There are a new obligation for advertisement. That means if substance or mixture is on some advertisement leaflet or in some advertisement in any places, the substance must be information about hazard pictograms, signal words, hazard statements, and supplemental information, supplemental AOH statements on this leaflet. It's similar like label, and there is for the general public must be mentioned on this document is always follow the information on the product label, and it's not possible to use statements not appeared on the label or packaging, and hazard pictograms and signal words may be omitted for non-visual advertisement. Some new when substances is placed on the market through distance sales, it means e-shops, the offer shall be indicate clearly and visibly with the label elements referred to Article 17. So all information which are on the label must be available for the customers who are shopping in e-shops, and must be on the first view be sure that the substance or mixture is hazardous. Now we have a new poll for you regarding e-shops. So please, it's Tano. We are thinking about organize a webinar regarding e-shops, so we are happy that you are interested, and we will invite you. Thank you. there are some derogation from Article 17. It means for ammunition intended for use by defense forces, if the labeling it means unacceptably security risk, it's not necessary to label it according to Article 17, but must be provide safety data sheet. If it's not available, must be provide copy on label elements as provide for Article 17. So it's just, I think it's not very important for you, but if you are a producer of ammunition, so check it in the new regulation. And there are some small packaging exemptions. If the elements cannot be provided on the small packaging, if it's smaller than 10 milliliters, Article 17 elements may be provided on tie-on tag or outer packaging. And anytime in inner packaging shall contain at least a hazard pictogram, signal word, product identifier, and identification of the supplier. Also, timeline is very important for you. The regulation 2865 entered into force on December 10th, 2024, and from this time, starting preparing for the new obligation. The date of first applying new obligations is 1st July 2026. Substances, products which was labeled or regulated according to old regulations and was on the market before 1st July 2026 as transitional period for 2 years until 2028, and for the rest obligations starting transitional period and starting obligation for new products on the market on January 2027. For first wave of the obligation, it's the most of the obligations I mentioned today. And for January 2027, starting obligation about identifiers on the label, general rules for the label, especially more focused on the labels. So for labels, you have more than half and 1.5 years to prepare your new labels, and also notification of mixtures for distributors is starting on this date. Transitional periods are applied just for substances and mixtures placed on the market before the date with the new obligation. So if you are starting place new supplier after this date, you have to fulfill all obligation for the new rules. So the companies which have a long time ahead of large batches, so be careful and be very well prepared for the changes. Thank you. How to stay compliant. So check your products. Check if you haven't already prepared a list of your product and the components. Check components, ingredients, classification, and their safety data sheet. If something will change, check your classification. If your classification of your product is changed, you have to inform not just your customers, your current customers, but customers 12 months before. because you know that if a safety data sheet is updated and if classification is changed, the safety data sheet must be updated. You have to provide a safety data sheet for all customers who used your product 12 months before the date of change. Also, check your labels. Be careful when designing the labels. Double check the parameters required by the regulation, especially dimensions. Keep deadlines. I showed you the timelines for the new obligations, but it applies in general. If you will keep deadlines, you can avoid penalties. And communicate in your supply chain. Request up-to-date information from your supplier, for example, safety data sheets or labels, and inform your customers if any change. And finally, it's important advice. Don't hesitate to ask for help. We are here for you. If you have any questions, please send us, visit us, and we are able to help you. Thank you. If you have any question, please come in. I will stop my sharing.
Thank you very much, Jana, for the presentation. Let's put the Q&A goggles, headphones on, so we can hear the participants. And first of all, I already see a raised hand by Maciej.
Okay, hello, dobry dzień. I have a question regarding the digital label. Can the information required by biocidal product regulation be placed only on the digital one?
No, because for biocides, it's label, its requirements for labels are mentioned in BPR regulation, Article 69, and it's I think it's 69, and the label must be according to this regulation. So it's not possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. As I mentioned at the start, we would like to prioritize people who would like to discuss with us live. So if you want to ask questions live, feel free to raise your hands. I can allow you to talk or unmute. I've seen 2 raised hands at the start. I believe one was Maciej. I believe there's another one. If there aren't any, we can do a quick Q&A question. I believe this one is from the registrations, but yep. There you go. So Market asked, product labeled in 2026 under old CLP is in warehouse as of January 1st, 2027. Can it be placed on the market until end of 2028?
I think not, because place on it's maybe let's start with the definition of placing on the market, which means supplying and making available, whether in return for payment or free of charge, to the third party. So if warehouse is in the third party place, it was placed on the market before, so it's possible to use it. But if it's placed on the market after the deadline, it's not possible to use it without new labels or new rules.
Okay, Jana, thank you. Marketa, if you are around, you can ask follow-up questions if you feel like we haven't answered correctly or fully. Let's go with the first Q&A question, which I was actually asked in chat, but I put into Q&A myself, by Sylvia. Sylvia asked, what does a new substance or new mixture mean? I believe it was later clarified in the context of Article 40.
Yeah. I believe I explained it before. New means new place on the market. It's not a new substance as mentioned in REACH, like phase-in substances and non-phase substances is a new delivery on the market, so new placing on the market.
Okay, thank you. Sylvia, feel free to ask for follow-ups. There are 2 or 3 questions regarding measurements on the instruments. The first one by Monica, who asked for recommendation on available measure instruments for 1.2 or 1.4 millimeters of letters. Do you have any information which types of measure instruments will be used by enforcement authorities?
As I mentioned before, there is no obligatory tool for the measurement. Just diameters established by the rules, by the regulation. And if you need help with measurement, ask your meteorological authority. Maybe they will help you. But I believe it's clear to measure millimeters, and it's not necessary to be certified measurement instruments. So it's very important. It's the small x is the minimum size. So small x it's used for the measurement. So that's it. Thanks.
And a related question by Dorte: how do you measure 120%? Is it also measured from the x?
Yes. I think yes. Maybe a more detail will be explained in new guidance. So wait for the new guidance, or I think if it's 100% from the X size, I think it will be correct.
Thank you. Now let's jump to a question which I will share in 2 parts. First, Takahiro asked, what does new quantities mean? On ICAS 2023 hazard classes page, linked below, a new note has recently been added that includes the term new quantities. I'm wondering if it refers to new tonnage or new batch. I will also share what I believe is the new note. Is a footnote on these timelines. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what you mean, Takahiro, but this is where new quantities appear on the website. And this was the first appearance. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to go through it all. I was just trying to illustrate the question better.
I think the new quantities means new batch, and yeah, from my point of view, yes. I believe it's explained because it's different between placing on the market and new substances, and maybe it's not misunderstandable, but it's explained by ECHA that means a new batch, it's new supply, like new amount. So I think I hope it's clear.
Okay, let's. If this isn't clear, feel free to ask for follow-up. I'll try to keep track of the chat, which is I'm a little behind. I'm sorry. I'll try to keep up. Let's follow up with a question by Adamola. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Adamola. I'm sorry. Does relabel mean reclassified, or is it just a template format?
Relabel means new label with your logo, with your identification, etc., etc. Reclassified is something different. Reclassified is if new hazard classes it's identified. So yeah, just.
Thank you, Anna. Let's move on to Marta, who apologized for asking a question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bash anyone for asking questions. I didn't mean to reduce the amount of questions. I was just mentioning that we might not be able to answer all the questions at the moment because there's a ton of them. But let's get to Marta's question. Marta asked, do you know when the updates in the CLP are considered to be implemented into the requirements set out for safety datasheets, the requirements of which are specified in the REACH registration?
I think it's must be classified according CLP and mentioned in a safety data sheet. I think it's connected CLP and REACH together. So all substances must be classified and labeled until 1st May 2025 and also mentioned in safety data sheets if some changes happened.
Okay, thank you. I would also like to announce that if you want to talk to us, we can allow you to talk. Just raise your hand if you have any questions. We would like to prioritize these questions over the text-based ones. Let's move to a question by Monica, I believe. Yes. For which part of supply chain is obligatory deadline to become compliant with the new CLP regulation? When is the border for placing on market?
I think starting with the producers and for mixtures it's clear it's for producers and importers as well. And for mixtures it's information from in supply chain. If your supplier inform you that the mixture or substance is classified with the new hazard classes, you have to change your documentation according to information, and I think it's obligatory for all members of supply chain.
Thank you. I would like now to address a question by Cheng, who asked a question which has resonated across all our CLP webinars, or at least regarding hazard classes. And this is the question: how do we know which category of the endocrine disruptor hazard that the substance is classified with? On the ECHA portal list, there is no mention of the category, just whether it is classified as an endocrine disruptor or not. Jana, do you want to chime in? Or
I think it will be, but it will be information from your supplier, or maybe in ECHA database will be specified, because I think it was. I'm not sure if it's mentioned category or not, but I think it will be in Annex 6 as harmonized classification will be mentioned, or information from your supplier who classified this property by its own. So I'm not sure when, but I think ECHA will mention or will list the information until I don't know when. Maybe in next years will be mentioned, or will list this new hazard categories or new hazard for the substances will be in the table of next 6 harmonized classification. I believe there will be specified also category, but I am not very sure.
Yeah, this is something that resonated across the webinars. That as far as I understand, I'm not a regulatory expert, but as far as I caught, there is still no differentiation between the categories.
There are criteria for ATA, and it is necessary to use the data from tests for set ATA for substances.
Oh, I'm sorry, I realized I didn't read the question. I'm sorry. Jelena asked, how should suppliers set ATE for substances with non-harmonized classification? And this is what happens in live events.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe also this information will be in the guidance document explained in details. So wait for the guidance.
I still have a few questions from the Q&A. I'm really sorry, I don't want to go too deep into the questions about classification. I've seen many pop up. We are at the moment missing our ecotoxicologist at this webinar. We wanted to focus more on the new CLP updates in regards to, for example, labeling. But we'll definitely get to them in the follow-up answer sheets. There is another question by Sylvia regarding PCN. I'll just need to quickly find it in my notes. There it is. Sylvia says, I don't understand the PCN for distributors from 2027. Even now, distributors, according to Article 4, have to put compliant mixtures on the market and then notify if they are placing in states different from the supplier, etc. So what changes?
Well, because before wasn't distributors merchant, it was obligation for producers of mixtures and importers, and I think it was producers of mixtures like downstream users, but it wasn't exactly mentioned distributors. So now are distributors also under the obligation? I think it was just for sure, and because there was some gaps in notification with distributors place the products on the other markets, then the products was notified, and then there was any gaps in the notification, and I think it was just cosmetic change.
I'm sorry, I'm having a trouble with sharing. Okay, there you go. I see a raised hand by Apurva. I am allowing you to talk, so you can unmute yourself and share anything you want at the moment. What's your question, Apurva? Okay, let's move to something else then. Or Apurva, can you hear us? Can you unmute yourself? I see you turned on microphone, but I don't hear any sound coming from you. Okay, so while you figure out sound, let's move network issue. Okay. Let's try to resolve it, and we'll move to another question at the moment. Let's move to a question by Monica again. Monica has a lot of questions. Thank you, Monica. If we formulate a mixture of substances that are currently only listed as suspected of new categories, e.g. draft harmonized classification for EDE, etc., but we do not receive a new MSDS of the substance with these classifications from the substance supplier by May 1st, 2025, are we in spite of it obliged to classify our mixtures as the hazard classes if the limit concentrations are exceeded?
I don't know. So it could be complicated, but your supplier has an obligation to inform you that the substance is or not is classified with new classification, and if they will not inform you, I think you are not able to classify it, or you can classify it by your own, or then change if something will change from your supplier.
Okay, again, let's move to a different question. I wasn't able to run it through PowerPoint. I can read it at the moment. Dr. Sachini Arpude asked how does CLP labeling change if a substance is found to be an endocrine disruptor after it has already been placed on the market?
Sorry, once more, please.
I'll put it on the screen in a second.
Sorry.
I'll put it on the screen in a second. I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks.
There you go.
Thanks.
So once again, how does CLP labeling change if a substance is found to be an endocrine disruptor after it has already been placed on the market?
So it will be according to Article 30, I think. It's necessary to be changed in at least 6 months after changing the classification.
All right. We have meanwhile heard from Apurva just wanted to know the timeline for using old labels. Can the old labels be used with an extended timeline?
You have to place the product on the market before the deadline, and so it's possible use let's say old label for the transitional period, and it's only one possibility.
So if it is placed on the market before the deadline, it can be extended.
Yeah.
We have. I'm not sure if this is maybe too complex for the moment, but let's give it a try. We have a question by Viviana. I'll put it up on the screen in a second. Viviana is asking, if a REACH registered multi-constituent or UVCB substance contains a component that is reclassified and is above the threshold limit, should the registrant update the classification on REACH dossier for the whole substance despite tests and studies conducted in the past on the whole substance if didn't show the hazard?
I am not sure that I'm able to answer to you in this moment. It's maybe must be a deep analysis of this situation, and I'm not sure. I'm not able to answer to you now.
Okay, thank you. There are some expertise that are sadly reserved for toxicologists. Let's move to a question by Martin. I believe I skipped him before. I'm very sorry about this. Martin asked that, or comments and then asks, ECHA plans to add new hazard classes to talcum, carcinogen 1B, H350, may cause cancer, and STOT-RE1, H, etc. A substance that causes damage to lungs through prolonged or repeated exposure via inhalation. When can we expect it to take effect? I believe this is not really a CLP thing.
Yeah, if the new classification will be added, probably the substance will be included in Annex 6 has a harmonized classification, and then will be a deadline for the reclassification of the mixtures or substances which are containing this substance.
I see. There is a really long question by Marketa in chat. I will again put it on screen. I'm really sorry that I can't manage to juggle is that the word, to juggle the questions faster, but I do my best. So this is a long one, but it has received a few upvotes in the Q&A, so I wanted to address it as well. Market asked, according to my understanding of the definition of placing on the market, meaning handing over to a third party, a hazardous chemical mixture is usually placed on the market several times in a row within the supply chain. For example, very simply, manufacturer to order, trading company, warehouse, retail. The product is on the counter for the end consumer. A relatively long time can then pass between production and handing over to the counter. Which of these placings on the market is relevant with regard to the end date of the grace period? All only after handing over to the retail outlet. For example, for the label format, the decisive date is 1st January of 2027. Does this mean that the transitional period until 1st January of 2029 is only for the sale of what was on the retail outlet before 1st January of 2027?
Yeah, according to the definition, I think it's all placing on the market or a supplier it's placing on the market because it's according to definition and mentioned in a CLP and as well as in a REACH. So it's I think whole step is placing on the market.
Okay, thank you. There is a follow-up question from Petra, who asked, how will you prove that the product was placed already on the market to authorities, I guess before the deadlines? What is enough proof about it? Invoice?
Probably invoice, but yeah, depends on if authority will accept it. Maybe it's internal counting system, invoice, and etc. etc. Or customer information from the boarding. It could be a lot of different documents. But I am specialist in chemical products, not in sailing or in invoicing, etc. etc. So for me, it's enough invoice, but no, I am not sure if also for our authorities.
Okay. How do you feel, Jana, about one last question?
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yes.
A question by Matthias. I hope I phrased it correctly. There is some paragraphs in there, but let's go. There is an opening in using different colors regarding the white background to not block recycling or circular efforts. What kind of proof is needed when using recycled packaging in light of it not having a white background? For example, label printed directly on a brown paper bag from recycled paper.
Mm-hmm. It's a obligation from the regulation, so it's necessary to be fulfilled. Maybe it could be some question for the authorities to inspections, if it's enough, if it's for them, it's okay. But there is no, maybe in a guidance will be information with more details, but it's according to the regulation and it must be fulfilled. So must be black on white. So that's it.
All right, so let's wrap up this webinar. Thank you very much, Jana, for your presentation, for your speech. Thank you very much for everyone for listening. It was a pleasure to have you all. We hope to see you on our further events. The closest one is actually already next week. We are having a webinar together with Measure Labs on PFAS use cases, not for PFAS, but for regulatory handling, and practical advice for analytics from the side of Measure Labs. So you can join using this QR code, or you can find the event on our website. Thanks again for presenting, Jana. Thanks again for listening, everyone. We'll send out the presentations, we'll send out the recordings, and you can look forward to a Q&A sheet in the little bit later future. Thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck.